All right, and we are back. We are here live on. Uh, we are here live on both Zoom and we are live on Facebook. And we are going over some Pesach Halacha, and we are touching upon different points that are practical. I am using a guide put out by the Badats of Crown Heights. They put out a beautiful, beautiful guide, and they touched upon a lot of halacha that is relevant for this year. Going into Pesach this year changes the situation incredibly. Halachas are changing, and you got to be familiar with how to go into Pesach. So I already did one class. You can find a YouTube link on my Facebook page, and we're going into another round of this, and a lot of this is even for me learning, just checking out what the halachas are, and I'm reading and going through it, giving some of my insight, and going forward over here. All right. Once at the Frierdiker Rebbe's Pesach Suda, there was a guest who was unfamiliar with the custom regarding gebraks, and he dipped his matzah into the borscht. Borscht is nice, wet, purple soup. And a furor broke out in the Frierdiker Rebbe's home. People saw that somebody was doing gebraks. Somebody was doing gebraks in the Frierdiker Rebbe's house. Everyone was freaking out about it. And, I guess the Frierdiker Rebbe was maybe in the other room. And when he saw there was a huge commotion, so he said, "What's going on over here? Why is everyone freaking out?" So they said to him that, that one of your guests here at the Suda, he's eating gebraks. He's dipping the matzah into the soup. So the Frierdiker Rebbe responded, "You should know it's much better to have red matzah than a red Jew. If a Jew's face turns red, you didn't do any mitzvahs over here. You didn't do anything good. In fact, you did everything wrong." Everyone comes into Pesach, and we're so excited about all our chumras, and particularly this year, it's like, what chumras are you going to do and you're going to jump into and whatever. But bottom line is everyone has their things that they're particular about on Pesach. And there's actually an interesting story that is told that when the Frierdiker Rebbe was his first years in America, his first years here, that the Frierdiker Rebbe was asked to sign a certain document, and the document was basically a kol korah to ban that they wanted the Frierdiker Rebbe to sign that machine-made matzah shouldn't be allowed to be used in America, and they wanted him to sign a document to say that it's forbidden. So the Frierdiker Rebbe responded, "Why would you want me to sign a document which makes thousands of Jews be sinners? Just because this is what's been done and what's being done, it's not what was done in the past, and it's not how it was done in the past. Don't make me make thousands of Jews sinners. I don't need to do that." So the Frierdiker Rebbe himself, he wanted to, the second story, he wanted to find ways to make things right for people, not things wrong. And on Pesach, it's taught that we want to do our best to try and keep Pesach in the strictest way possible for ourselves, but we shouldn't in any which way enforce our chumras onto another person. And if we do that, then we're not doing it right. Even a small amount of anger is forbidden, it says over here. So as we prepare for Pesach, it's important to keep that in mind, whatever chumras you have, that you do it that way. There's an interesting story told about Reb Michal of Zlotchov, that his son was once sitting with Chassidim, and he saw an individual eating matzah that was shmura misha techina, which is supervised from the time of grading, in contrast to shmura mishas kasira, which is supervised from the time of harvest. Big difference. But everyone has their chumras, and many chassidim were careful to only eat shmur matzah, which is done in this way. And he told his chassidim, don't humiliate him. Chas v'shalom. If a yid is eating matzah then by the Eibishter, it's special. How many Jews on Pesach are not eating matzah altogether? We have beautiful Jews, and people are coming to the Seder, and people are doing Pesach, and incredibly, incredibly tough scenarios this year. Whatever people do, we got to be happy. We got to be happy that we're healthy and we're alive and around the table, and that we're able to celebrate Pesach, and we're able to do Pesach in these beautiful fashions, and not get caught up on Hidurim. So anyhow, jumping ahead in some actual halachas over here. I went through a lot of this before. By the way, if you didn't say Kiddush Levana, and I'm reminding myself, we got to say Kiddush Levana either tonight or tomorrow night. Last time to say Kiddush Levana. All right, jumping into some of the stuff we didn't do before. Most people are not into koshering every last one of the dishes. At least we haven't done it in our house. We do a lot of just getting separate dishes, but the halachas for turning your dishes over for Pesach are quite complicated and not easy, and you got to get a rabbi who knows what he's doing really, really well to go into the whole hagala and the stones and the hot water boiling. It's a complicated process, and you really want to know what you're doing. So the easier way to do things is to have separate pots, pans, sinks, dishes, everything exclusive for Pesach, and that's definitely what we do in our house. Try and go everything unique for Pesach. But there's a lot of halachas and there's a lot of shilas, and if you have a shilah, go to a rav. Don't be afraid to pick up the rav. Pick up the phone and dial the rav. You can also pick up the rav too. But pick up the phone and call a rav, rabbanim. They get their phones going off the hook now, and they're used to it, and it's important. All right, going into this guide over here, how to prepare common kitchen items for Pesach. Bread bins that contain chametz. So if you aren't sure, all the chametz are removed, sell it. I think that it's pretty obvious. Something that's used for chametz all year round, we should try and stuff that chametz is touching, we should try and get out of our kitchen and put it away best as possible. Cabinets that contain dishes or food at room temperature. Clean, if they're not, if they haven't been touched by chametz, clean well from all visible chametz, reaching all corners, and line it. So basically, obviously, if you're using the same cabinets, so then try and line up your cabinets that, as long as the dishes were stored at room temperature. I guess there's people who store dishes in cabinets at 25 below or whatever, but I guess as long as it's normal, line your cabinets, get it set up, and we are good. Chairs and benches, getting them ready for Pesach, just basic scrubbing, cleaning the chairs. You want to go through your living room, through your dining room, particularly if you got the kids around, and get everything ready for Pesach in that regard. Fridge and freezer, clean well. Include the shelves, the drawers, and the rubber that lines the doors. Wipe them wet with a cloth. Remove ice from the freezer before cleaning. And a lot of people like to line the shelves, but you do not have to in getting your fridge or freezer ready for Pesach. But as long as you clean up the shelves and there's no traces of chametz on them, then you are good to go. So you could keep your fridge the same way it is the whole year. Just get rid of any residue or any liquids or anything that might have spilled in the freezer, and you are good to go. High chairs, clean, wipe them all down. Line the tray with plastic, something that sits over them so that it's not touching what it usually touches all year round. Again, if possible, it's always best to have everything new or something, whatever, for Pesach. All right. Countertops, there's a lot of different stuff. You gotta look at what your countertop is. All right, and then put kosher in your dishes, the hagala. Again, get a rabbi who can really go over it with you if you really want to use the same stuff that you usually use all year round for Pesach. The best thing is use paper plates, get cheap dishes, get nice plastic. Don't use the same stuff all year round. get new pots and pans for Pesach. That's the better way to go about things, and avoids the most problems over here. All right, next bit of stuff over here. Moving along. All right, practical stuff going into Yom Tif. Day by day over here. So tonight is the 13th of Nisan. Tonight is the yahrzeit of the Tzemach Tzedek. He passed away in 1866, and his ayel is in the city of Lubavitch, which is about 3 hours southeast of Moscow. If you travel down southeast, it's kind of near the border of Russia and Belarus. All right. Let's see here. Reminder, if you want to take a haircut, to try and get a haircut done before Pesach. Otherwise, basically, you're kind of stuck through Lag BaOmer. The thing about cleaning, you want to make sure that all the places in your house that are necessary to clean, even just a simple walk around your house, sometimes you notice stuff. I was noticing today, was walking around the house, and just basic stuff that you see still sitting out. At this point, I think a lot of us have our house more or less in shape and more or less ready. And but you go around, you find things that are here and there that definitely still need to be put away and locked up. If you did not sell your chametz yet, make sure you sell your chametz. Selling your chametz is a big one. Find a rabbi this year. Everyone's saying no problems. Go on your local rabbi's website, whatever it is, and sell your chametz. And a lot of people prefer to do it in person. This year, everyone's saying that l'chadchila it's better to do it online. We want to avoid social interactions. If a person has dentures and denture wearers and youth denture wearers and youth wearing braces to straighten their teeth should not eat or drink any warm or sharp chametz substances for 24-hour period before the deadline of eating chametz on the 14th of Nisan, which is Wednesday. So someone has dentures or braces, try to avoid like pastas and stuff and clean them out. And some refrain from eating or drinking all chametz for a full 24 hours before they perform Hagala on the dentures. They try and take the dentures out and perform Hagala. Obviously, braces, you're not going to stick your mouth in a... That was always a joke when I was like in 8th grade or 7th grade. The Rebbe's used to tell us, if you got braces, you got to stick your mouth in boiling hot water. And all the kids were frightened. We were terrified until we went and asked our rabbi if it was really true and found out that our Rebbe was just trying to scare us. Anyhow, Tekufas Nisan, the spring season, the Jewish calendar is marked by the vernal equinox. It begins tomorrow, 12 noon. Officially, spring begins on the Jewish calendar. On April 7th, 12 noon, spring has sprung. And you can officially say it on the Jewish calendar. Going forward here. In 5747, the Rebbe issued the following directive. It is extremely worthwhile and highly appropriate for every Jewish child to receive their own Haggadah Shel Pesach before the festival. So, if you have a kid in the Haggadah, the signal's... Oh, here we go. Signal's not good. Okay, here we go. We're back. Signal's better here. All right. Right, back in this. So, if you have a kid, the best thing is that you try and get them their own Haggadah. That would be awesome. Kids love it, and that would be a great way to go about it. It says on the inside cover, one should inscribe the word L'Shem Haaretz Maloi. This is something that the Rebbe said, that that kids should have their own Haggadah, and you should put in that Hashem runs the world, and followed by the child's name. In 5748, 1988, the Rebbe added, it would be best to purchase a new siddur or the like for a child before Yom Tif. The importance of such gifts can be derived from the law that one should purchase edible which are merely non-obligatory items. So, if you give your child some type of good sefer, a svar, or something to get them excited that Yom Tif's coming up, that they're excited for Yom Tif, more than just some candy. I know my kids get very excited when they're offered candy, when they have a chance to have some candy or whatever. So, if you can get your Kinderlach something, that's great. If you have not yet contributed, here we go. All right, live broadcasts. They get a little interesting over here. All right. All right, let's keep going. If you have not yet contributed to the funds that provide matzahs and other those who cannot afford them, everyone right now is out of work. Half the country doesn't have work right now. Everyone's in a tight spot. But it's amazing to go into Yom Tif knowing that you still gave a few dollars, whatever you have, whatever you possibly have, to another person who might be in a even worse spot than you. Everyone's tight right now. Everyone is absolutely tight. And it's funny because normally around Pesach time, I see the appeals going through the roof left and right. This year, I don't see appeals. People are just, they're not making the appeals as loud and as heavy as they did in previous years. Practically, I think that just people are just short on money, and people are tight. But if you know someone that is struggling to make Pesach this year, and even if you don't, I think it's incumbent, if I'm saying that word right, incumbent, to a position, $18, $10, $5, go online, make a credit card donation, something to a organization that helps other Jews get ready for Pesach. That's something very important, and something that's mentioned in Halacha, that we should get ourselves ready, help people get ready for Pesach. In Sichos Kodesh, the Rebbe explains, all right, we're back again. This Facebook Live is very, very trippy. In and out. All right. The Rebbe explains that women have a special connection with the mitzvah of tzedakah. In our society, husbands are accustomed to entrust considerable sums to their wives. Discretion, and therefore even significant funds, are considered within the halachic definition of a minor sum, which a tzedakah collector was permitted to accept from a woman in former times. In the USA, it's prevalent to distribute funds for tzedakah and for many other matters to be woman's prerogative to a far greater extent than that of her husband's. In short, the tzedakah collectors come knocking on your door. I remember that in our old neighborhood, in Lakewood, they would knock on our door at all hours of the night. It got a little bit excessive. But the point is, women are around, they're answering the door. And even more, the women have the power to distribute tzedakah. So it's not just us. Our wives should be involved, and they should be distributing tzedakah. We should all be distributing tzedakah as much as we can. And again, it's very, very tight, and people are all in very, very difficult times. But we should all try our best to do what we can to distribute a little bit to the poor, and see whatever we can do to help out that the people have what they need for Pesach. Hold on one second. All right, continuing forward over here in the halachas over here, getting ready for Pesach. Tomorrow night is B'dikas Chametz. Tomorrow night is the night that we actually start locking it up. Everything has to be done. So tomorrow practically is a big day in Halacha, because literally by tomorrow night our house has to be ready for B'dikas Chametz. So whatever is not done whatever's not done tonight, whatever's not done today, needs to be done tomorrow, to get our house to be finished, to be ready for B'dikas Chametz. Wherever you're holding, whatever, is not done, we definitely need to do and do it right and get our house ready for Pesach. Tuesday night. It says over here, every room that requires searching for chametz must be thoroughly swept and cleaned. The head of the household should remind all members of his family to clean under their beds. Yes, there's a lot of stuff that grows under the bed, besides for the scary monsters. Some other practical points, just by the way, a lot of people forget about, and I'm just recalling off the top of my head. Make sure to empty your vacuums. We use the vacuum a lot before Pesach. We sweep up all the chametz, we get all the chametz going, and then a lot of times we leave that vacuum cleaner sitting in our closet, and that vacuum cleaner has chametz in it. So, bottom line, you want to make sure to get rid of the chametz in your vacuum cleaner. Going forward over here, some more halachas. Tuesday night, Eve of Pesach, tomorrow night. Someone who intended to travel on Erev Pesach probably not happening this year. You're probably not traveling. But someone who intended to travel to a different location for Pesach should not sell their entire property to a non-Jew as chametz. Rather, at least one room should be included in the sale in order to be able to perform B'dikas Chametz tonight, the 14th of Nisan, at least in part of his home. A person who travels before tonight, the 14th of Nisan, need not leave a room unsold. Instead, they are obligated to perform B'dikas Chametz tonight, wherever they may be, and they can just sell the whole house. Famous halacha. I don't think a lot of people are traveling this year. I think a lot of people are staying home. They are following what they need to do, and social distancing, and socially connecting to their families. A guest in another's home should place some of their own chametz in a room. They should try and make a stipulation to rent the room officially, so the room is theirs. A guest who owns no chametz is not obligated to search at all, and someone who wishes to be machmir, however, will take a point of bringing some chametz of their own in order to conduct a bedika. But there's a whole question whether you make a bracha or not. It's a whole interesting thing. Actually, the Alter Rebbe argued on this, and the Alter Rebbe said that the main point is the bracha of searching. If you look in the lashon of the bracha, the lashon is that we make a bracha on searching for chametz. It's not about finding the chametz. So even when you're out tomorrow night, the main inyan is that we actually search. You don't have to find; you have to search. So we have to be searching. That is the mitzvah over the next 24 hours, to be searching around our home, searching around our house for the chametz. You got to search. What you find is not what matters. Same thing, by the way, interesting when it comes to mezuzah or tefillin. Sometimes the mitzvah is just to check. There's a mitzvah to check your tefillin regularly in your mezuzahs, and sometimes the mitzvah is just to get down to the nitty-gritty of checking, and that itself brings a nice shmira to your home, to your life, to your everything. All right. From approximately half an hour prior to Tzeitzes Kahavim, which is around 6:30 tomorrow night, 6:30-ish, it's prohibited to sit down to a meal, or to study, or perform any work, or to enter a bathhouse. Activities that may go... I don't think any of us are going to a bathhouse. Activities that may easily go overtime and cause neglect in the conduct of the searching. Basically, we got to get ready to start doing the search for the chametz by about 6:30, 6:15, 6:30 tomorrow night. We got to start being ready to find that chametz. B'dikas chametz is conducted after Marav, so you should try and daven mincha Marav early enough, be ready, and go right into the B'dikas chametz. Various opinions are presented in Shulchan Aruch, but the accepted view is to conduct the search immediately after Marav. For this reason, Marav must be recited in its due time and not delayed. As the Alter Rebbe explained, since Chazal established a time for B'dikas Chametz, one who fails to conduct a search at that time is not merely considered just like whatever on his duties. He's like, yeah, whatever, the words are not great. So basically try and do the B'dikas Chametz as soon as possible. get it over with. And as soon as the B'dikas Chametz is over, obviously, Chametz is put away, your house is Pesach Dik, and you can relax, and you can, whatever. I mean, you probably got to, whatever else you got to do to get ready for Pesach. But the main thing is, you will want to make sure that all day tomorrow is spent getting ready for your house, being ready for Pesach. And the main thing is not to go crazy. The main thing is you got to enjoy the Yom Tif. You get, if you're getting overwhelmed and your cleaning is making you way too stressful, so you're doing it wrong. Pesach is supposed to be enjoyable. Pesach is supposed to be Zman Simchaseinu, and there is halacha and there is things we have to do, but sometimes we go overboard. And there's a lot of ways to be makel in a lot of areas. And the main thing is that we get rid of the chametz around us. We sell it off. You don't have any chametz. But if you didn't clean this drawer exactly right, and you didn't find the alcohol in the medicine in the left counter closet, you know what? Blumenkrantz has a beautiful book, and he goes over every single piece of food and every drug and everything. But if you're not up to that, you don't have to be up to that. You got to be up to making Pesach beautiful for you and your family, and that's number one. Some are careful to, let's keep going over here. Some are careful to wash their hands for Netilas Yadayim before conducting the search. I've never heard that before. That's interesting. B'dikas Chametz facilitates the observance of Pesach, and it's therefore important that the mitzvah deserves to be conducted in a state of ritual cleanliness, which is why some people want to do a B'dikas Chametz with their hands clean. So that's kind of cool and kind of interesting. It has become the prevailing custom to position pieces of chametz. I wonder if we can still get them from these Judaica stores. I'm sure that they were all made. Everyone knows those little pieces of chametz. I don't know if you can get them anymore anywhere. Seems like everything's closed and locked up. But yeah, people used to do the little pieces of chametz. This year I think we're going to try and have to figure out how to make your own little pieces of chametz, most of us. And the Indian of hiding the pieces, there's the whole thing about 10, it's a whole thing in Kabbalah, that we should hide exactly 10, so it's a good idea to go for the actual 10. It's highly advisable to prepare a list that describes the location of each of those 10 pieces, maybe even practically just take your video camera, your cell phone camera or something along with you as you're putting the pieces out. I have been in the spot, I think, more than once. It's kind of funny finding your 10 pieces of chametz in the freezer in the middle of the Seder. That's not where you want to happen. So you want to make sure that you know where you're putting your bread out. You're putting your chametz, because it does happen. It does happen that we hide chametz and then we don't find it. And then we have chametz in our house when we don't want to have chametz in our house. So bottom line is, get your chametz ready, and maybe take a video camera or something so you know where the chametz is being put out, and let it be known where it is. In addition, some poskim have stated that each individual piece should not exceed a kazayis in size. So when you're putting out the pieces and you're taking a little, you're taking the thing. You don't have to put out a big piece of challah in, a huge chunk of challah in every place. Just put a little tiny piece. It's 10 little tiny pieces of chametz that we got to put out. If a piece is lost, at least the biblical shear would not have been broken, which is why we try and put out a small amount. If you put out a huge loaf of challah and you don't know where that is, so practically it becomes a lot more complicated. Halachically, if you can't find that, versus a little tiny piece. I was saying I have the memory that I think one year we used bagels. We had a bunch of extra bagels. When I was a kid, we had a bunch of extra bagels lying around before Pesach, and we used the bagels, and we were bageling away before Pesach and trying to find that. So it's not fun. It's not good. The best thing is, and the best option is to to put out your chametz in a place that is going to be remembered, and put it out in a size that if it gets lost, that you're not going to be worried about it. Before conducting the search, we make the bracha, al bir chametz, and the head of the household should gather his family members around with him. They say the blessings, and the household members are not obligated to search for the chametz individually. Getting a notification here. What is this notification? Oh, okay. The whole household doesn't need to participate in the search. Nevertheless, if they do, they have performed a mitzvah. It is therefore possibly a mitzvah for the head of the household to give them the merit of participating in the mitzvah. It's appropriate if you're a bachler in yeshiva. I guess this is not really relevant this year because most people are not hanging around yeshivas this year. I think every bachler in the world is pretty much home. To perform b'dikul chametz in the best way possible, do not rely on the search to be conducted by anyone other than the person who is halakhically considered a free man. In short, a male over the age of 13 who is halakhically able to do the search and search the house. He should not talk from the moment he recites the blessing until the conclusion of the search, and he finds all those pieces of chametz. So, if you really want to shut up someone in your house, you want the easy way, halakhically, to get someone to be quiet. So tell them that they are in charge of searching for the chametz. And then the easy way about it would be that they can't speak for the rest of the night and really put those pieces out well. And then people are searching for chametz all night long. So that is a cool idea. After reciting the blessings, do not speak before beginning the search, even to address a matter that pertains to actual speech. The search must be conducted by a candlelight. Please people, be careful. How many Erev Pesach fires there are? They're not cool. They're really not cool. And you're going to see over here that halacha says, it's nice to use a candle, but practically, where there is a concern or a danger, such as causing a fire, an electric flashlight. Get that? An electric flashlight can be used instead. A blessing should be recited on this, in this case as well. Guys, it happens way too often. The fire department is already busy enough dealing with corona. We really do not need the fire department dealing with fires. So, please, do yourselves all a favor and try to avoid using candles or a candle for a little bit. They have those little tin trays that go around the candle. Use the flashlight. If your kids are particularly involved, you really don't want to have the burning bush or the burning bed or anything. Erev Pesach. Not fun, not cool. Anyhow, moving right along in halachas over here and things in this regard. A bird feather is used in the search for the chametz that is found, is placed in a small paper bag, and with the feather and the spoon, yada yada, and we put it away for the next morning. Practically this year, again, the Rabbanim are saying, if you can make a small little fire in your backyard, it's not going to cause a huge chilul Hashem, so go for it. And if you can't, then flush it down the toilet. That's what they're saying. This year, there's not going to be big fires this year, and there's no way to make big fires this year, so it's not going to be the big bonfire like we're used to. It's a setback for us, but there's still an Indian about doing a fire, so just got to figure out what's good for you in your own household and your situation about making a fire. Remember to search your car for chametz. That's a big one. Cars are a big one. Cars have a lot of chametz. Practically, cars just are filled with chametz. And you got to use your flashlight or something too over there, because that's part of the bedika. That's your possessions, your property. In the olden days, people had to search their cellars. And today we got to search our cars. Cars are our cellars. We got to make sure we search our cars. And if we have an office, places of work, we got to check those out and make sure that they're clean out for Pesach. Or if the office is completely sold away for Pesach, then we can do it that way as well. There's a minhag Chabad, which is to carry out the search meticulously and at great length. The Rebbe would stay up. I think that it would be known that the Rebbe would stay up the entire night searching, even when the Rebbe was in a small apartment. She is saying you can make a big fire in front of your house. Maybe in Borough Park. I don't know. What about in Tom's River? You can make a big fire. I don't know. You can get exciting. You can make a big fire tomorrow night if you use the candles for for searching. Then you can make a big fire also. You can have the burning bed. Anyhow, refrain from talking again throughout the search. Anything that's not related to the actual search. After the search is ended, it is appropriate to count the pieces of chametz to ensure you have all 10. Again, it is really not funny when you don't have all 10. Then you got to go back out. Did I really find it? So, as it says, try and make a list of where those 10 pieces are. Today we have a cell phone. You can take your cell phone along with you when you hide them out, and you can put your cell phone and you can make even a live YouTube video on Shizoli. We can make a live YouTube video about where your 10 pieces are, but don't let your pieces go to waste and be not discovered, because that just makes problems and defeats the purpose. If a piece is missing after the search, the entire house must be searched. So you really just don't want to be in that spot. You really don't. It's not fun. Been there, done that. Yeah. If the piece is not found, then left with no choice, the searcher may rely upon his kol chamiras and everything, but it gets sketchy. It really doesn't get fun. So it's like, we're big into this whole situation of searching the house and getting the house ready for Pesach and putting out the pieces and doing the whole search, and the search has to be the first thing. But if you lose one piece, you're really not in a good position. Once the search is concluded, the remainder, again, we wrap it all up, we put it in a bag, and we get it ready for Erev Pesach morning. Great care must be taken to search the chametz that was found, and great care must be taken to secure both the chametz that was found and whatever additional chametz is kept to be consumed, sold, or burned the next morning. It should not be left where it may be moved to another place, or kids can get into it. Kids do get into it. They do. And rodents also. There's a lot of things that can happen. Chazal actually established an obligation to be extra careful with chametz, and someone who is negligent will have committed transgressions. It says over here, all final chametz items that are to be sold to a non-Jew should be placed in a location designated for that purpose. So we want to move our stuff out to a place that is for this purpose. After searching, reciting the kol chamir, relinquishing ownership over the chametz, it's basically done. It's finished with. We say a kol chamira and it's over. We are done with our chametz. The main declaration occurs not via speech, but in the mind and in the heart. Just because you speak it, you gotta put your mind and your thoughts where your mouth is, because people we know can say one thing and they can mean and think another. So in halacha over here, it's very interesting. The halacha goes by what's in your mind, what's in your heart, what's in your thought. They say it's the thought that counts. It is the thought that counts here. It is the thought that counts. Absolutely. It is the thought that counts. The main declaration that occurs is by the thought. And if a person says the kol chamira, he doesn't know what he's saying or doesn't really think about what he's saying, then the kol chamira is worthless. We no longer think about the chametz. The point is that we no longer want to think about the chametz because we're basically letting it hefker into the whole world and rendering it ownerless, and that's the situation. The average person in the majority of countries do not understand the Aramaic language in which Chazal wrote the kol chamira. Kol chamira is Aramaic. Do you speak Aramaic? I don't. It is essential to inform everyone in the importance of reciting this declaration in a language that they comprehend. So, the English siddur is very useful here. As explained above, the nullification depends on your thoughts and on your heart. What's here? What's here? What's here? You gotta nullify it that way, and that's how we're doing it. In English, I'm not going to go through the whole lesson over here, but bottom line is it's pretty easy to get rid of your chametz this way, in this fashion, and you're ready to walk into Pesach. Reminder again, vacuum bags and all the things that we use to help get rid of chametz, putting garbage out by the curb and stuff like that. That's pretty relevant into getting stuff ready for Pesach. You want to do what's needed over there. Wednesday, the 14th of Nisan, Erev Pesach, is the anniversary of the Rambam's birthday. He was born on Erev Pesach. Also born on Pesach itself, by the way, very interesting, is the Maral of Prague. So the first night of Pesach, the Maral of Prague, so I'm going to let know that his merit should stand with us, was born on the first night of Pesach. It's forbidden to eat matzah at any time today, starting from dawn. The Chabad custom is, we're talking about Erev Pesach. Erev Pesach over here. On the 14th day of Nisan. It's forbidden to eat matzah anytime today, starting from dawn. The Chabad custom is to stop eating matzah from Purim. I have not had any matzah from Purim. So, yeah, that is, I'm going to pause here for 1 second. And, yeah. Alrighty. Erev Pesach Halacha. Says... All right. All right. So we are on to Erev Pesach. Over here, Erev Pesach Halacha, and again, Minhag Chabad is we avoid eating chametz. Sorry, we avoid eating matzah from 30 days, Minhag Chabad. From Purim already, we stop eating matzah. Practically, halacha is Erev Pesach. We don't eat any matzah, and that is how things come to play. A young child who's able to comprehend the whole story of going out of Egypt, so practically 3 or 5 year old, then they should also be trained not to eat matzah on Erev Pesach, because we want to get them excited and ready for the Seder, and to get them brought in a way that that matzah is something new and exciting the night of Pesach. And if they're eating and chomping on matzah Erev Pesach, it kind of takes away the whole excitement of everything. Some have the custom to refrain from eating maror on Erev Pesach, so that they can eat it at the Seder again with a good appetite. Even though maror is not exactly the best of appetites for people, nonetheless, people try and avoid eating anything that is part of the Seder. They try and avoid eating on Erev Pesach. And again, it says over here, the Chabad custom is to refrain from eating any of these items from maror or cholosis from dawn on Erev Pesach until after the Kaira on the second Seder night. In short, we only eat it during the Seder. We eat it at its proper time during the Seder and during Shulchan Aruch during the Seder. This does not apply to meat and fish, eggs and potatoes and onions, despite the fact that they will potentially appear on the Kaira, as karpas or beitza. You can have your morning omelet. You can have your potato for lunch. On the morning of Erev Pesach, it is customary to daven shacharis at an early minyan, but we don't have minions now. No minions, yeah. Nope, no minions going on. That's right, no minions happening these days. Anyhow, so it should try and get up early and daven as early as possible. The Rabbanim have poskin that if you are not able to make a siyum, if you're a bechor, the Rabbanim have poskin that you can do Zoom siyum. That is something new and innovative, because normally in halacha we're very not excited about stuff going over the phone. You got to be in person. So I guess the Rabbanim this year are being pretty makel to let people, because of social distancing, etc., that people do what they need to do. So if you need to make a siyum on the morning of Erev Pesach, you can do a Zoom siyum. I'm sure that they're going to have links all over tomorrow night. I'm sure they'll be saying, click here for a siyum on this, and click here for a siyum on that. And then you can have your bagels, lox, and cream cheese for your last time before jumping into Pesach mode. Interesting thing, we say Mizmor L'Seida throughout the year. There are certain days in the year we do not say Mizmor L'Seida. This Mizmor L'Seida has to do with the carbon taida that was offered in the Beis HaMikdash, and we don't say it on Erev Pesach, and it's also not said during Chol Hamoed, because we didn't offer carbon taida then. It was not practical to be offering the carbon toda at this point in time in the Beis Hamikdash. In commemoration of the miracles of the Makas Bechoros, we said this over here about the Siyam, as far as who and what qualifies as a true firstborn, the halacha gets a little interesting, so you should always check up on that. Are you considered a firstborn? Not going to get into that now. Okay. The deadline for eating chametz this year is about 10:50. Really, it says here 10:45. So, really, guys, let's bear in mind that no more chametz from the Upper East Coast area. The number is going to fluctuate just a little bit from this city to that city, but essentially 10:30 Wednesday morning, chametz is done, finished, finito. So no more chametz. You want to have a bagel, lox, and cream cheese? Wash it away by 10:30. You gotta be done with it. No chametz may be eaten after this point in time until the end of Pesach. Chazal prohibited eating of chametz from 2 halachic hours before midday. However, Chazal only prohibited the eating of chametz during the first of those 2 hours. It is therefore permitted to derive other forms of benefit from chametz during that time. So, if I guess for whatever reason you own a McDonald's and you want to sell chametz to a non-Jew at this point in time, you are welcome to do so. Or if you're just selling your chametz to somebody not Jewish at this point, you're welcome to do it at that point in time. But eating chametz 10:30, guys, that is the cutoff time. That is it. That's when it's finito. Clean your mouth and teeth well and remove any remnants of chametz before the deadline for eating chametz. Dentures, again, should be cleaned extremely well to be removed. Even the minutest trace of visible chametz should be cleaned up from that. They should be koshered for Pesach by having boiling water poured down them. And it is certain that they will not be damaged. You should be certain that they won't be damaged, whatever, yada, yada, yada. Hopefully you're not wearing dentures, and that's that. Final reminder, all final chametz items that are to be sold to a non-Jew should be placed in locations. By Wednesday morning, 10:30, we should be getting our chametz totally locked away. Should be doing it now. But bottom line is, in addition, all garbage bags. Here, the reminder, the big reminder, thing is that people forget, garbage bags, put them by the curb. If you have a garbage or whatever, put them outside. People forget about it, and you walk into Pesach, and you're like, oh, I still have the garbage hanging around my house. So, if you have garbage, whatever you got going on, guys, put out the garbage, put out everything, and get your garbage outside ready for the garbage man. And again, empty the vacuum cleaners, and anything that has chametz got to be removed, put away, put out. Women who intend to wear their rings during Pesach must kasher them if the rings have been in contact with warm chametz substances. If the rings have not yet been kosher, they must attend to them now. Any trace of chametz must first be removed from them. Boiling water is poured over the rings. Everyone must remember to examine their pockets and gloves and that of their children to remove possible chametz. It's a little bit of a tedious process to go through this all and to get every chametz, every pocket cleaned out. Remember the famous line that dirt is not chametz and kids are not the carbon Pesach. So practically, if it's going to make everyone crazy, to go through everything, the last bit of it, then don't do it. But it'd be a good idea if you have the time to try and go through it and try and clean up your clothes and whatever. I think a good wash a good run through the washing machine, usually for most people, cleans out the pockets pretty well. I know that usually does for me. Usually nothing left in the pockets by the time whatever's left in there, I think halachically is not an issue anymore either. But if kids have a pile of clothes somewhere that hasn't been washed in 2 weeks because we're busy quarantining and busy everything, then you should check that, make sure that there's not some kid's pile of clothes that's sitting around and not being taken care of when it's supposed to be being taken care of. What else? What else over here? Let's get right up to the Seder, and then we're going to stop with this till now. Nevertheless, it can only bring a extra blessing to check all your garments. It says it can bring a lot of extra bracha if you have the time to go through all your garments and check everything properly. practical reminder, make sure you have everything you need for Yom Tov in place. And if you don't, so start preparing now, food, stuff. It's always complicated when you get down to the wire and Erev Yom Tov and you realize you don't have enough cucumbers or whatever, running out to the store. You want to make sure now and really cheshbon out, buy a little extra if you're able to. And this way you go into Yom Tov calm. It's Mon Simchasenu. We want to go into Yom Tov happy. Chametz that was placed in a dumpster or bin. If the bin belongs to a Jew or it is in a private yard, it must be destroyed before the deadline, before the burning of the chametz. Bleach or another corrosive substance may be poured over it until a dog will not eat it. If the bin belongs to the municipality and it is placed in the public domain, there's no need to destroy it. So for us here in New Jersey, the bins, we pay for the bins from Tom's River municipality. So you put them out by the curb, and it's really the property of the municipality, so it's considered public domain. It's a Rosh Hashanah, and you don't need to pour bleach all over it. I don't think they would like if you start pouring bleach over it. I think practically people start wondering what you're doing if you're pouring bleach all over plastic bags. Doesn't look good for us. The Jews are up to baking their matzah again, and they're pouring bleach on those plastic bags. If you get my reference. Anyhow. I don't have anyone here to laugh at me. I'm sitting here talking alone. Anyhow, all chametz removed, destroyed, out, 11:52, locked up. No more chametz even deriving any benefit, 11:52. Practically plan on 11:30, so 10:30, you got to stop eating. Another hour later, by like 11:30, you are done. Chametz out, done, finito. Chametz must therefore be placed in the fire in advance of the latest time for owning the chametz. So if you're making the fire in your backyard, or if you're doing flushing down the toilet, whichever, together with Ted the goldfish. So 11:30, guys. And we want to say the Kol Hamira. It's not good to wait till the very last minute. We want to try and not do it the very last minute. Best idea. It is highly advisable to wait until the close, not to wait, it says over here, not to wait until close to the deadline to destroy chametz, because it takes some time for the chametz to actually be destroyed, and you got to stay the Kol Hamira, and it's a whole process. So don't wait till like 11:30. Well, come in by 11 o'clock. Do it. Do your thing. Do your thing early. Be ready. Be prepared. Hazal prohibited us not only from eating, but from deriving any benefit from the chametz from the beginning of the 6 o'clock hour of the day. It is therefore no longer possible to sell chametz to a non-Jew post the 11:30 hour. So if you forgot to sell to a non-Jew, either you got to time travel to, I don't even think it's going to work, because if your chametz is in New Jersey, even if you time traveled, I don't know, it's not going to work. So best thing is do your stuff now, get ready now, and make sure you're all sold up. It is best to take care to recite the second declaration of an annulment only after removing and destroying all the chametz from the property. This way remaining chametz is destroyed, and you fulfill the mitzvah of biur chametz. And then in any overlooked chametz rendered ownerless, and any overlooked chametz is rendered ownerless and worthless. Chametz should be burned alone in a fire designated for this purpose only. It is critical to remember to remove the paper bags containing the 10 pieces of chametz from the search. Yada yada. Be careful with what you're doing. In short. Remember, the Kol Hamira during the day is different than the Kol Hamira at night. Practically, some have suggested that turning, the Arizal state, the one who is scrupulous regarding the minutest quantity of chametz on Pesach is guaranteed not to sin the entire year. He possibly refers to the immunity from inadvertent sins. There is no question that every person retains his freedom of choice and can do what he wants. So, those little times throughout the year, we had an interesting story. Like 2 weeks ago, we had an interesting story, which was 2 weeks ago on Shabbos, or this past Shabbos even. I think it was 2 weeks ago on Shabbos. It was very interesting. We sat down for the Shabbos Suda, And my wife is looking at the soup bowl, and she says, "Why is there a bug in the soup?" And I look at the bowl, and I say, "There's not just one bug, there's about 10 bugs." Turned out that I guess the leeks had a ton of bugs in them, and I never got out. And we went back to the soup bowl, and it turned out that the entire soup bowl was filled from top to bottom with bugs that I guess were in the leeks. It was really disgusting. Obviously, we couldn't have the soup, and it was not a very cool situation. But I was thinking of Hashem because before I bit into the soup, I was saying Dvar Torah at the table, and I didn't bite the soup. And I remember a few people at the table were like enjoying the soup until we finally realized. So, it was like, I thought about this Arizal at that point in time, that you're saved from inadvertent sins. If you try and do your best not to have chametz on Pesach, it's these moments, these little weird, funky situations when it's possible. Eating a bug is a huge thing, and it's these weird moments, these weird situations that Hashem offers us protection from, trying to really make sure that you have no chametz in your possession. So we should all do our part, and I'm not saying that my wife didn't do her part. I'm just saying that everyone, probably my wife's doing more than me in this regard. Absolutely, my wife's doing more cleaning than I am. I'm a lazy bum sitting in front of the computer giving Pesach shirim to no one. I'm live on Facebook talking to absolutely no one. I think I have one person on Zoom, so that's kind of cool. Swirly, are you there? Wave your hand. If I have a Swirly on a Zoom, he's with me. Are you with me? I don't even know if he's with me. I think. I do have one person with me, so I'm not a complete.
If I'm here, can you hear me?
At least I have one person. L'chaim.
You know what they say, tzaddik in talks.
I was like, all right. Back to this. I want to finish this up because I'm already live now for 58 minutes, and I'm finishing up on share. Hold on 1 second. What? Oh, move the camera. I've got 2 cameras going now. All right, guys. Finishing up the stuff over here. All right. The Alter Rebbe quotes in a tshuva that the Arizal stated that we should observe all the chumras during Pesach. We should try and observe as many chumras in Pesach as possible. As we mentioned earlier, that chumras are great as long as it's at no one else's expense. The reason for this is to avoid being considered as having. You shouldn't. Oh, it says that not to make it the custom of observing the Hidurim. Sorry, I'm skipping 3 lines over here. In the year 5692, which comes out to 1912. The Frierdiker Rebbe stated that his father, the Rebbe Rashab, had said that not to make the custom of observing Hidurim on Pesach. The reason for this is to avoid being considered as formally accepting upon these stringencies with the force of a vow. Meaning you shouldn't say, this is my minhag. Whatever you do, you do. Presumably this means that we should keep the chumras without establishing them as our official custom. So whatever you're going to take on, don't officially say, this is my minhag, this is what I'm doing, because then it already takes on a little bit more of a halachic status. And that already makes more complications. I started doing something myself, which is I keep usually 30 minutes after Shabbos, and I've told a few people that already, so it already becomes a little bit more iffy if I want to break away from that. So if you want to do a hitter on Pesach, the best thing is just do what you do, and don't start verbalizing this is my hitter and this is what I do, because already then it becomes iffy if you can break out of that if you need to. Especially like in years like this year when it becomes a little bit more trippy. So we want to try and avoid that. Also, it's known that if you have a hidurim are great, but not at anyone else's expense. All right, we should not say Pesach is such a bother. Express similar sentiments. We got to go into. It's like the wicked son. He says, "What is this service to you?" It's a lot of work getting ready for Pesach. It's hard. It takes a lot of effort. And the main point is we should go into Pesach being happy. We should be besimcha, and we should actually enjoy what we're doing. Carbon Pesach is a biblical obligation, and the wicked son is claiming that the Torah's commandments are nothing more than a burden. By contrast, the frequently voiced exclamations of this is hard and tired, it's kind of like saying, this we don't want to be here. This is too much for us. On Erev Pesach, a specific order of conduct existed in the town of Lubavitch under the guidance of their Baim. After burning the chametz, they would immerse in the mikveh. We are not going into any mikveh this year unless you're jumping into a lake. That actual line, jump into a lake. They would then dress in Yom Tov clothes and bake matzahs to be used for the Seder night. They would then busy themselves with all the other Yom Tov preparations, including the removal of seals from the bottles of wine, especially seals that included lettering. They would also partially remove the corks or stoppers from the... They basically get everything set up for the Seder early. The Rebbe customarily distributed shmur matzah after Mincha on Erev Pesach while dressed in a silk kapata, and then he reserved for Shabbos and Yom Tov while wearing his gartel. There is a ban on work. Not that most of there's a ban on work not just from the government, but halachically from about 1 o'clock on Erev Pesach. If you're busy working still, unless you are a doctor out there saving lives or a nurse or Hatzalah, essentially halacha wants us to shut it down. So more than the government's mandatory non-essential workers, even if you're an essential worker like owning a liquor store. Today, essentially owning a liquor store is considered an essential worker because people, they need a little time to keep themselves sane in times like this. But bottom line is, work should be stopped by about 1 o'clock on Erev Pesach. The rabbinical interpretation was not removed even after the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash. And bottom line, till this day, Chazal want us to stop working by about Chatzos, which again is about 1 o'clock. All activities that may be performed during Chol Moed, such as matters that will be, if it's something that needs to be unattended, if you need to prepare for Yom Tif or whatever, then you can, preparing for Yom Tif, then you can do it. It comes down to things like haircuts and things like that. It can't be done after midday. It says it is prohibited to cut your own hair at this point. However, you may receive a haircut from a non-Jew. I don't know if you're going to find that today. I really don't. I don't think you're going to be able to go to Tim's Barbershop around the corner because Tim's Barbershop around the corner is certainly not open. A lot of interesting stuff this year. How stuff is playing out in halacha. Every work, even from a worker, every form of work may be performed on a person's behalf by a non-Jew on Erev Yom Tov. So if you have a cleaning lady or whatever, even not a Yom Tov, it's fine. Some authorities consider it forbidden to trim nails after Chatzos, while others are lenient. Given a choice to be stringent, take care of nail cutting and stuff like that before Yom Tov. All of the above refers to work performed in the afternoon of Erev Pesach. For Chatzos, all this you can do whatever you need to do. If you are in the business of letting blood, I don't know anyone who does that today, I really don't. But I guess if you're giving blood still, if you want to give blood, you should try and do that before Erev Pesach, blood plasma or whatever. But I think if it's really for saving the life, I don't think we're going to be concerned about Chatzos. What chametz is discovered anywhere in an individual's property during what if chametz is discovered on your property during Pesach? According to the original law, chametz that is discovered on Erev Pesach anytime should just be removed and destroyed completely. The same is true regarding chametz during Chol Moed. If it is discovered during Yom Tif, it must be just securely covered so that it can not be seen and then destroyed completely immediately after Shabbos or Yom Tif. This is if you find it then. When destroying chametz before Pesach, the blessing al bir chametz is recited, provided that there's at least a quantity of a kazayis that is considered true chametz. So I guess even if you find more chametz at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I guess it seems that you can make a second bracha. Interesting halacha over there. Nowadays, however, it is customary to include the phrase b'chol makom shehu, that wherever it may be, that in the contract of the chametz that's sold I'm not even going to try and get into the halachas of the, what's it called, of what we do in the contract. It's a very detailed thing and left for a competent rabbi. Someone who wishes to be shugnet and to burn chametz out of concern that it may not be included in the sale should not recite a blessing over its destruction. Destroying the chametz is not considered theft from a non-Jew, because there is intention to pay the non-Jew for the destroyed chametz should he demand it, and the Jew is technically permitted to take an item in advance from a non-Jew with the intention of paying for it later. So, if you find chametz and you want to destroy it, you shouldn't say, I sold it to the non-Jew. No. You can destroy it, and if he asks for that chametz later, so we'll pay him for it, and whatever. Meanwhile, we want to burn it. We want to get rid of it. So don't think about worrying about that situation. When doing so, the finder must have in mind that he does not intend to acquire the chametz. For this reason, it is best to avoid touching it directly. It should be moved with a stick or something, because you know what we do by weddings, we do makabel kinyan. You hold something up, it's already makabel kinyan. Interesting story. You don't want to. People. There was one year in California where Kellogg's Frosted Flakes used to send out to every house in the entire Los Angeles area samples of Frosted Flakes in the mailbox, and every Jew in California one year was a huge shaila that they had that call, and the answer that was given basically is, and how it was dealt with is, as long as you don't touch it, just leave it in the mailbox. Leave it in the mailbox the whole Pesach. The minute you touch it, you're makabel kinyan on it. And the minute you take a hold of it, so it's considered you actually own it. So bottom line, if you find chametz on Pesach, don't touch it. Move it with a stick, whatever, and that's it. Sorry, Simcha Yisrael. I am finished for the night. This has been an hour shir already, and I'm cutting out. So I know you said someone else is joining, but I am cutting out. I'm up to the halachas of getting ready for the Seder. We've done all these halachas over here, Baruch Hashem. You can never finish enough in halacha. There's a lot of halacha to do in Mitzvah. Maybe tomorrow night after we've finished succeeding in finding all of the chametz, maybe tomorrow night at the same time we'll go over some of the halachas for the Seder and get ourselves caught up and ready for this beautiful night that in Mitzvah Hashem we will see the revelation not only of going out of Egypt, but the revelation of going out of this Golus. May it be Hashem's will. Chaim. Anyhow, ladies and gentlemen, good night. Tuning out, and I will repost the shir on Facebook on YouTube for you to check out this all later on. Have a great night and a wonderful kosher Freilich and Pesach.